Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level social studies lesson, and today we're going to be talking about life before the Industrial Revolution. So until the middle of the 18th century, life in Europe was quite simple for most people. So take a look at these pictures and then see if you can answer the questions. What do you see in the pictures? Where did most people live, and what did they do for a living? Well, we can see here's some very basic farming equipment, um, some very simple housing. So most people probably lived in homes like this. And what did they do for a living? Here it looks like we can tell that they were mostly farmers. However, by the middle of the 19th century, things had changed. So look at the pictures and describe what you can see. So what can we see in these pictures? We're seeing more factories, people working in, manufacturing in large groups. And this would probably mean that people lived in cities more so than in the countryside. What did they do for a living? Some sort of manufacturing work. And what else was different? Well, we're starting to see the evidence of possibly pollution. And more automation. So match the words with the pictures and then try to explain in your own words what they are. So you can take a few moments and try that on your own, then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So a factory would be picture B. Steam is picture D. Weaving is picture A. And textiles would be picture C. And so see if you can make some sentences using each of these words. All right, so now we'll take a look at some vocabulary words. You want to match the words to the definitions. You can pause the video and try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So a place where machines and workers make products or goods, often in large amounts. Well, that would be number one, a factory. A place in the countryside where there are fewer buildings and people live farther apart. That would be number 7, rural. All the tools and machines that people use to make things or do tasks more easily. Say that would be number 3, technology. To change a lot and become better. That would be number 4, transform. The business of industry or industry producing goods in large quantities. That would be number 8, manufacturing. A place in cities or towns where there are many buildings and people living close together. That would be number 6, urban. The practice of farming would be number 5, agriculture. And something new that someone created or made would be an invention. Okay, so from the middle of the 18th century to the middle of the 19th century, life for ordinary people in Europe changed a lot. And what do you think happened, and why did life change so much so quickly? So just think about that. All right, so now we're going to read about the Industrial Revolution to check your ideas and then answer the questions. You can pause the video and read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. The Industrial Revolution began in Great Britain and later spread to the rest of Europe and North America. It was a period of fast technological change that transformed the way goods were produced, leading to great social and economic changes. The Industrial Revolution started in the middle of the 18th century and continued into the first half of the 19th century. The development of new machines and technologies during this period had a great impact on agriculture and industry and contributed to the growth of urban centers. So, can you think of any examples of new machines or technologies that were developed during the Industrial Revolution? Well, the steam engine could be one. Other inventions, electricity um, would be probably two of the major ones. All right, so now I'm going to read more about some inventions. One of the most important inventions was the spinning jenny, which was developed by James Hargreaves in the mid 18th century. This machine allowed textile workers to spin many threads at the same time, making work faster. Another important invention was the power loom, which was developed by Edmund Cartwright in the late 18th century. This machine made weaving easier and faster. There were other important machines developed during the Industrial Revolution as well. One of them was the steam engine, which was developed by James Watt in the late 18th century. This machine made it possible to power machines and factories using steam power, which was much more efficient than using water or wind. Overall, the development of new machines and technologies had a large impact on the growth of factories during the Industrial Revolution. They could produce more, which led to more people moving from the countryside to cities in search of jobs in manufacturing. So changes also occurred in farming in the countryside. So the Industrial Revolution also caused big changes in farming because new machines and technologies were developed to increase productivity. One important invention was the seed drill, which was developed in the early 18th century. This machine helped farmers to plant crops in rows with the same spacing between them, which helped them to use their land well. Another important invention was the threshing machine, which was developed in the late 18th century. This machine helps to separate grain faster and better than doing it by hand, so they needed less time and people to do the work. The inventions of farming changed rural communities because they needed fewer people to work on farms. So, many people who used to work on farms moved to cities to find jobs in factories. All these people moving from rural to urban areas made cities grow bigger during the Industrial Revolution. So in 1820, it is 1820, and Eunice has always lived in rural Britain. She remembers life before the Industrial Revolution. Things used to be very different. There used to be more people in our village. We would work all day in the fields, and we used to plant seeds by hand. My children used to live with us here, but now they all live in the city. They work in the new factories. They say they like it, but I think life used to be better. So how have things changed for Eunice since the Industrial Revolution began? Well, an important thing is that the children have moved away. There are fewer people in their village. People live in the city and work in factories. And are the changes positive or negative? Well, it seems to kind of depend on your point of view. The children think that the changes are positive. Eunice maybe thinks these changes are negative. All right, so now we're going to talk about used to. So Eunice used to describe how things have changed. Used to is a phrase that we use to talk about past habits or actions that happened repeatedly in the past but don't happen now. It is often used to describe something that someone did regularly in the past but doesn't do now. We used to plant seeds by hand, but now we use a machine. We can also use used to describe situations or conditions that continued in the past but have finished or changed now. There used to be more people in our village, but now there are not. Used to or the past simple. We use used to and the past simple to talk about past events. However, the ways we use these two forms are different. We use used to describe something that was repeated or continued for a long period in the past. We used to plant seeds by hand. There used to be more people in our village. We usually use the past simple to talk about a specific action in the past. The Industrial Revolution began in Great Britain, Edmund Cartwright invented the power loom in the late 18th century. And wood, Eunice also used wood to talk about the past. Would is another word we can use to talk about past past habits or actions that were repeated regularly in the past. Would is often used in the same way as used to talk about the past. We would work in the fields all day, but now we don't. However, we only use would to talk about past habits or actions. We don't use would to talk about situations or conditions that continued in the past. So we cannot say there would be more people in our village. It would have to be there used to be more people in our village. All right, so now put these words in the correct order to make sentences. You can pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. All right, so for one, people used to make clothes by hand. Number two, workers would often work long hours in factories during the Industrial Revolution. Number three, before the Industrial Revolution, most people would farm for a living. Number four, children used to work in factories during the Industrial Revolution. Number five, people used to travel by horse and carriage. And number six, most goods used to be produced by skilled craftsmen. All right, describing life before the Industrial Revolution. So imagine that you are a factory worker who moved from the countryside to the city during the Industrial Revolution. So describe the changes in your lifestyle using used to and would. So for example, before the Industrial Revolution, I used to work on a farm. However, things that are different now, I work in a factory. So that would be an example. All right, so some reflections on this lesson. What were some of the changes that happened because of the Industrial Revolution? And give some examples. And why did these changes happen? And this brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, and if you have any questions, leave those for me in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.